Hey, just as a quick heads up, in this video I'm talking about someone named Michael Giacchino, and I routinely flip-flop between calling him Giacchino and Giacchino. So that's a thing that happened. I'm sure he'll find it in his heart to forgive me, since basically I'm defending him against the insanity of the internet right now. Hi and welcome back to me talking about whatever I want. Today I want to talk about why Twitter is a mistake. Honestly, I feel like I say this at least 3 times a week. The sheer amount of videos on my channel that are solely based around the shortcomings of humanity as expressed through tweets, it's growing at a rapid pace. And you would think that at this point that I would just come to a conclusion that Twitter as a whole is stupid and I should stop using it. But I like getting attention, so that's not happening. However, before I get into that, I'd like to do my comment shout out from my last video. This one goes out to Mallory Gilligan, who says, "Hurt and offended that there was no comment shout out today. How else am I supposed to hear someone subtly dig at D'Angelo?" Well, good thing there's one. Wait, is this what y'all are using them for? Anyway, let's complain. All right, politics. That's something that I tend not to get into on my channel because it's very hard to have a discussion without people immediately just getting upset. But correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I'm going to get canceled for saying that Hitler was bad. There, I said it. I expressed a political opinion on my channel. Hitler was bad and what he did was awful. Go ahead and unsubscribe if you must. But yeah, all jokes aside, I'm pretty sure the sentiment that he was a terrible, awful person transcends political differences, you know? Or at least that's what I thought until I saw this Twitter interaction. So this main thing happened between Michael Giacchino and the quarter. Well, it wasn't really between them. It was more so the quartering just getting mad at Michael Giacchino and him not really responding or giving him any kind of attention whatsoever. It's kind of a boss move, not gonna lie. For those of you who don't know, Michael Giacchino is a legendary composer. This man did the music for Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, and now he's doing the music for the new Batman movie. The Quartering is a guy with over 600,000 subscribers who, his channel's the kind of one that I just am aware that it exists and I stay far, far away from it for multiple reasons, none of which I will be discussing. So, because Michael Giacchino is working on the new Batman, and because the Quartering is reporting on how people don't like the new Batman or something, I don't know, there's a whole backstory. So that's how an amazing composer with a legendary track record and the Quartering wound up in the same sphere of discussion the other day. So what you need to understand about Michael Giacchino on Twitter is that this man has no chill. He responds to trolls. You know, typically they say don't feed the trolls. Mr. Giacchino's out here giving them a full course meal. And as much as I should be admitting that that's not generally a good idea, so I'm kind of living, okay? Michael puts out, "Yes, folks, that's my music in the video Matt just sent out. Enjoy." And then someone responds, "Not impressed. Once again, Batman is not mediocre superhero. He requires epicness. Hopefully you will provide that. Your lackluster score for Doctor Strange doesn't boast any confidence." Okay. To which Michael replies, "Incredibly, I'm unconcerned with how you feel on the subject." Someone else said, "Horrible, no thank you." To which Michael replies, "You could have just said, no thank you. When you're in a restaurant and the waiter asks, 'Would you like anything else?' do you respond, 'Horrible, no thank you?'" Just seeing the absolute destruction that Michael wreaks upon these people. He routinely will get like hundreds of likes on his clapbacks, whereas the trolls are left in like the tens. It's not to say that everyone who disagrees with him is a troll, but I think at this point, people are kind of just poking Michael Giacchino with a stick in the hopes that they will one day have the honor of being roasted by him on Twitter. Honestly, I kind of relate to that. So that's the context on Michael Giacchino and how it's not really a secret that he just lashes out on any and everyone. So this wound up backfiring on him, but not for the reason you would think. Michael Giacchino tweeted out, "Great news, see King Kong in theaters for the first time in nearly 65 years. Max Steiner essentially created the template for film scoring with this masterpiece." Literally, this is one of the most harmless tweets I've ever seen in my entire life. And then someone replies, "Hitler's favorite movie," which, what did you gain from sharing that information? This man right here is literally the CEO of Nobody Asked. And then of course, Michael, in his glory, just responded, "F Hitler." The beauty of that tweet, the simplicity of that tweet, the way he words cannot describe. Now, just as for my input without the memes, I think this was a perfectly valid response. Nobody was talking about you-know-who until this guy randomly brought it up. And it's just like who cares? Nobody, this has nothing to do with him. I also would just like to point out that the guy who said that got 44 likes, whereas Mr. Giacchino got 1,700. So That hurt me. Now, if we lived in, you know, the real world, that would be the end of the story, right? Someone tries to troll, they get ratioed into the nether realm, and that should be the end of it, because at the end of the day, I think we all agree, F Hitler, right? Nope. See, the quartering was doing a little bit of Twitter stalking, much like I am in this video. And so he quote tweeted his "I'm unconcerned with how you feel" and said, "Composer for the new Batman movie already getting into it with fans. Not a good sign." I guess he's trying to push the narrative that... Actually, I don't know what narrative he's trying to push here. What exactly is this not a good sign for? Like, is a movie going to be bad because the composer of the movie is sending people to the shadow realm on Twitter? I just don't think that's... I'm not sure what he was trying to do with this tweet, okay? But anyway, he tweets that one out, and then he tweets this one right here. He quote tweets Michael's F tweet with, and there we have it. Yikes. Now, if any of you want to explain to me a situation in which yikes could ever be an appropriate response to F Hitler, I am all ears. Like, of all the things you could have responded to, of all the things you could have quote tweeted, I just showed you other tweets in which Michael was being snippy with random people on Twitter, but you had to call him out for saying F Hitler. It's almost like he was trying to steer the conversation into a different direction. It's almost like he was trying to create a discourse about whether or not it's okay to say F Hitler. And the reason that I say this is because the F Hitler tweet is not on the Batman movie tweets. Like, this tweet right here literally has nothing to do with the new Batman movie. He quote tweeted it out of context after just tweeting about the new Batman movie. So to everybody who just sees that and didn't actually check the source, it kind of just seems like Michael's randomly saying that, and it has something to do with it doesn't have anything to do with Batman. So ultimately, creating this conversation in the first place is a bad move, but I don't know what I really expected. And needless to say, the conversation happens. Wow, he's so stunning and brave. Get that guy a medal. Why are we mocking people for saying F Hitler? That doesn't mean you're trying to be stunning and brave or asking for a medal. You know, I could see if Michael just opened Twitter one day and was like, the Holocaust was bad, and then everyone's just clapping and congratulating him. Sure, that would be a little weird, but you know, to imply that he's out here trying to virtue signal when he was literally just responding to some rando who brought up Hitler in the first place, weird. But that's what a lot of people were doing. This one right here, he's my favorite composer alive today. Sad he has to stoop to such rhetoric online. Not a good look. What? Okay, so apparently thinking Hitler was bad and a bad person and did terrible things is I think my favorite response is just right here where they said not liking Hitler is a bad look. I am so confused. And then someone said Hitler was cool or something. What did I miss? To which someone replied, the pointless virtue signaling is what he's talking about. And again, a lot of people were trying to claim that Michael is virtue signaling. There is nothing virtue signaling about saying F Hitler in response to someone randomly bringing up. And I knew that, you can see that, the quartering knew that when he quote tweeted it out of context and tried to paint this whole narrative. So what's the point of me even explaining? But yeah, we really had people out here defending Hitler. I just don't think he needs your defense, you know? I don't think he deserves your defense. Now, obviously there are a lot of people saying much more unsavory things than the tweets I've decided to share, but don't really want to read them out loud. So instead I'll read some more positive responses. Someone said, what's the problem? To which someone replied, I guess we aren't supposed to be mean to Hitler anymore, lol. Honestly, I guess not. And I like how both of these people just ratioed the absolute heck out of the quartering. Someone else said, yeah man, he's bad for saying he doesn't like a dick who is the cause of a ton of deaths. Screw him. I think just my favorite reply is not liking Hitler is a yikes now. So yeah, that was the initial situation, but it's Twitter. Why would it stop there? You thought it would stop there? You must be new. So this one account screenshotted him saying, and here we have it, yikes, to the F Hitler post, and they simply put the eyes emoji. And so of course the quartering hopped under the comments in that one and said, the context is obvious in the thread that it's another comics pro arguing with fans and making stunning and brave statements like F bad things. You don't care about truth though, just perpetuating lunacy. Never have I ever seen someone say you don't care about truth while lying in like the same tweet. First of all, Michael Giacchino is not a comics pro. As we established, he's a film composer. Secondly, this whole stunning and brave argument is really dumb. Just because you point out bad things does not automatically mean you are reaching for brownie points on Twitter. But one thing these people fail to realize is, honestly, so what if you were reaching for brownie points on Twitter? If I were to go on Twitter right now and say racism is bad solely because I know I would get hundreds of likes and a ton of retweets, you know what? I'm actually gonna do that right now. All right, I literally just tweeted racism is bad like 1 second ago. Now let me explain to you what's gonna happen. A lot of people are gonna retweet this. A few people are gonna comment. A ton of people are gonna like this. And I am going to get a lot of attention on the internet. However, that in no way negates the truth of what I just posted. So here we have a situation in which I said something true and I was also reaching for attention on the internet. And if you can't understand how both of these things could exist and not be mutually exclusive, I don't understand what kind of logic you're applying to the situation. Obviously, I tweeted out racism is bad for attention. And obviously, racism is still bad, and I could still have a vested interest in how bad it is, even if I was still looking for attention. But on top of that, Michael Giacchino did not tweet out F Hitler for attention. He was responding to someone who brought him up in the first place. So this entire take is garbage. I literally just got 13 retweets in like a minute. And guess what? Racism is still bad. So yeah, honestly, this right here is a terrible tweet that I don't like, and hopefully have explained why. But if that wasn't bad enough, he also quote tweets that person quote tweeting him in the first place and says, the context is that it's another comics pro with stunning and brave takes like F Hitler, but you're not interested in that. That's why you didn't at me. You just want to try to smear me as a Nazi. Effing clowns every time. All right, now we're just getting into straight up lying. I don't think using the eyes emoji and showing a screenshot of a very real interaction that you were a part of is implying that you're a part of like the Nazi party. I personally don't think the quartering is a Nazi, just from this little information that I've gleaned. I think he got a kick out of starting a discussion on the internet about whether or not it's a good idea to say F Hitler, and he definitely had a lot of people who might be not show up in the comments. But I mean, to automatically label him a Nazi is insane. Good thing that person wasn't doing it, right? Imagine if I'm saying all this and like he just turns out to be a literal Nazi and then I get canceled. So this tweet right here is also terrible. Nobody is attacking you. In fact, you're mad that they didn't at you, but then you're still trying to act like you're being attacked. If they did mention you, wouldn't you just say that was attacking you as well? There's just so much wrong with every one of his responses. It's like, how are you so consistently missing? So if that's not bad enough, the next day, which was today, I think, or something like that, basically, I think more than 24 hours had passed. The quartering goes on his Twitter and says, I've got a spicy second video for you all today, but if I did a third, holy crap, he's gonna post 3 videos in one day, dang. Anyway, but if I did a third, what would you like to see? I might have time to shoot it quick now. And someone said, isn't an apology for blowing this out of proportion? Of course, attaching a screenshot of the whole yikes situation. And then he replies, why would I apologize? Saying F Hitler in 2020 is 0% stunning and 0% brave. It's 100% cringe. He just said it's cringy to say F Hitler. What? Also, the whole stunning and brave. I keep repeating myself because this guy keeps repeating himself. Where did Michael Giacchino ever claim to be stunning and brave? Nowhere. I've never seen someone double down so hard on something that didn't happen. Actually, yes, I have. I've seen it all over Twitter, but this is the most I've seen today. So yeah, guys, apparently it's cringy to say F Hitler. Whatever you do, please don't put F Hitler down in the comments because it's cringe, you know? Imagine trying to be stunning and brave by admitting that somebody who committed genocide was a bad person. Like, he literally died in 1945. Get over it, right? These people make me want to die. Like, yeah, no, I was about to say that's a very strong reaction, but it's just true. But I think I'm gonna try to use it to explain a huge issue with Twitter. First of all, the lack of context. The quartering knew just by taking Giacchino's 2-word tweet out of context that he could use it to frame a different narrative, which was that Giacchino was out here trying to earn brownie points on Twitter by being stunning and brave. And because nobody checks anything. It pretty much worked on, I would say, the majority of the Quartering's fan base. Now, I did see a lot of his actual fans like, hey, this tweet ain't it, chief. But still, a huge issue with Twitter is it's just way too easy to remove something from the context it's in and use it to try to paint a different picture. Another thing that the Quartering is also illustrating for us is shifting the goalposts. People will try to make it seem like they're talking about one thing, and then once they realize that that's not going over well, they'll shift it and try to make it seem like they were really discussing a different issue from the start. Like, for example, initially, he said, composer for the new Batman movie, already getting into it with fans. Not a good sign. But by the time the whole ordeal was over, it wound up being saying F Hitler is cringe. How did we get this far from the initial point that you were trying to prove? It's almost like you were trying to prove something different from the beginning. Just kidding, I don't think he's that smart. But you know, shifting the goalposts like that completely worked because we had people saying things like F Hitler should be a given. Next, he's gonna want to be called stunning and brave for making his bed. Okay, you know what? Actually, this one personally offends me because I am stunning and brave for making my bed. I'm stunning and brave for getting out of my bed, bro. It's hard sometimes. Totally cringe. The overwhelming majority of people dislike Hitler. Dude was supposedly shot and left in it. Supposedly? Dude was supposedly shot and left in a ditch over 60 years ago. He's long dead, but good for you for taking a stunning and do these people know any other words? A stunning and brave stance that no one else will. Maybe next we'll all fist bump an agreement. I have never seen people try to shame someone for saying F Hitler, but you're reading it with your own eyes, folks. This just in, the sky is blue. Yeah, and also F Hitler, you know what I mean? Now, I don't think the Quartering was the only one in the wrong, well, I do. But you know, the more I think about it, the more I get a weird feeling. Because like I pointed out, Michael's tweet had nothing to do with Batman. In fact, it had nothing to do with anything that should really affect the Quartering, since he's like a pop culture channel. You know, the only thing he really did was express distaste for Hitler's mere existence. And why would you have a problem with somebody having a problem with Hitler if you're not a Nazi? I'm sure I'll think of the answer at some point. Anyway, who cares?